Most people don't expect cheating to feel the way it does at the beginning. They assume it will feel wrong, heavy, or immediately shameful. But for many people, it feels unreal, almost like it's happening outside their real life. Psychology explains why cheating often begins in a strange emotional fog. At first, it doesn't register as betrayal. It feels detached, suspended, and oddly separate from consequences. By the end, you'll understand why the brain creates this unreality, how emotions hijack perception, and why clarity only comes later. When cheating starts, the brain does not process it as a full moral event. It processes it as a novel emotional experience. Novelty activates dopamine, the same chemical involved in motivation and anticipation. Dopamine narrows attention. It pulls focus toward reward and away from long-term outcomes. That is why early cheating feels light, exciting, and disconnected from reality. At the same time, the brain downregulates areas involved in self-reflection and future thinking. This is not because someone has no values. It's because intense emotional stimulation temporarily quiets the systems that normally hold identity and responsibility together. The mind becomes present-focused. Consequences feel distant, abstract, and unreal. This is why people often say, "It didn't feel like me," or "It felt like I was watching myself." That sense of unreality is a psychological state called dissociation. It doesn't mean extreme detachment. It means emotional compartmentalization. The brain separates this experience from the rest of life to reduce inner conflict. Consider how this shows up in real life. Someone flirts with a coworker. It feels harmless. They justify it as stress relief or harmless attention. The brain frames it as play, not betrayal. Emotional language shifts. It becomes just talking, just venting, or just fun. Each word reduces emotional weight. Here's a reflective question worth sitting with. If the brain didn't protect people from discomfort, would many emotional choices even happen at all? Another reason cheating feels unreal is that the brain creates a temporary alternate narrative. Humans need internal consistency. When behavior and values clash, the brain experiences psychological discomfort. To reduce that discomfort, it adjusts the story. The relationship is framed as distant. The partner is framed as unavailable. The self is framed as misunderstood. This narrative isn't always conscious. It forms quietly through emotional reasoning. Feelings become facts. If someone feels neglected, the brain treats neglect as objective truth, even when reality is more complex. This makes the cheating feel justified, even if only temporarily. The emotional brain also thrives on secrecy. Secrecy intensifies bonding. When something is hidden, the brain assigns it significance. This creates a sense of intimacy that feels deeper than it is. The unreal feeling grows stronger because secrecy removes social grounding. No one else reflects reality back. Notice how this resembles other parts of life. People make impulsive decisions when traveling, drinking, or under stress, and later say it didn't feel real. The brain in heightened emotional states is not oriented toward stability. It's oriented toward relief, excitement, or escape. Another subtle factor is emotional timing. Cheating rarely starts when life feels balanced. It often begins during periods of vulnerability. Stress, loss, identity confusion, or long-term emotional fatigue weaken the brain's regulatory systems. When someone feels unseen or overwhelmed, emotional validation feels unusually powerful. Here's a surprising insight. The brain does not experience cheating as one decision. It experiences it as many small emotional permissions. Each step feels minor. Each step feels unreal on its own. Reality only crashes in when the steps are viewed together. Ask yourself this: how many moments in your own life felt harmless until you looked back and saw the full pattern? As cheating continues, the unreality persists because the brain is still protecting the self-image. Admitting reality too early would trigger guilt, shame, and identity conflict, so the mind delays awareness. This is not manipulation alone, it is emotional self-preservation. But unreality cannot last forever. Eventually, emotional systems collide. Either the affair deepens, consequences appear, or emotional exhaustion sets in. Dopamine fades. The brain shifts back toward long-term thinking. That is when reality rushes in. This is when people say the cheating suddenly felt real. They describe a moment of clarity, seeing their partner's face, hearing a child's voice, facing exposure. That moment activates emotional integration. The compartments collapse. At that point, shame feels intense not because the person suddenly became moral, but because reality returned all at once. The brain reconnects actions with identity. The emotional cost is heavy because it was delayed. For those who were cheated on, this unreality can be deeply confusing. It feels impossible that someone could act so detached. But understanding the psychology doesn't excuse the behavior, it explains the emotional distortion that allowed it. Here's an important reframe. Cheating feeling unreal at first because the brain protects itself from emotional conflict. It narrows focus, rewrites narratives, and delays reality. But reality always returns. If this perspective helped you understand something you've experienced or witnessed, take a moment to reflect on it. You're welcome to share your thoughts, support the channel, or continue exploring the psychology behind human behavior.